There's a generation nobody talks about. Not because they're boring, because they disappeared on purpose. You've heard of boomers. You've heard of millennials. You can't scroll for 5 seconds without someone dissecting Gen Z like they discovered a new element on the periodic table. But there's this other group, sandwiched right in the middle, quietly running the world, rarely complaining about it. Generation X, born between 1965 and 1980. And I'm going to make a bold claim right now. They are the most psychologically misunderstood generation alive. Not the most traumatized, not the most overlooked, the most misunderstood. Here's why. Picture this. It's 1978. You're 8 years old. You get off the school bus, walk up to your front door, and you let yourself in. No parent waiting. No babysitter. No texts. No FaceTime. No Ring camera watching over you. Just you, an empty kitchen, and a quiet house that has absolutely zero interest in how your day went. You make yourself a snack. You do your homework. You wait. That was Tuesday. By 1984, researchers at the American Journal of Orthopsychiatry found that roughly 7 million American children between ages 5 and 13 were doing exactly this. Coming home to empty houses, regularly, alone. 7 million kids learning the same silent lesson. Nobody's coming to save you. Figure it out. And they did. Here's what that actually does to a developing brain. Psychologists call it a high-contingency environment, a fancy way of saying actions have consequences, and there's no buffer, no cushion, no soft landing. You broke something? You fixed it, or you faced the music alone. You made a bad call. Nobody was there to talk you down or talk you out of it. Your nervous system rewired itself in real time, constantly scanning, constantly calculating, always 3 steps ahead. That's not anxiety. That's architecture. Gen X doesn't overthink. They pre-think. And it started at age 8, in a quiet house, with a key on a string around their neck. Then they went to school and learned something that would define their entire worldview. Adults lie, not maliciously, necessarily, but consistently. They watched their parents' generation preach stability while divorce rates exploded through the 70s and 80s. They watched workers give decades to companies, loyalty, sacrifice, weekends, and then get handed a cardboard box when the layoffs hit. The message was always, work hard, follow the rules, and life will work out. And then, right in front of them, the rules changed. Psychologists have a name for this response, defensive pessimism. Gen X has a different name for it, being realistic. It's not cynicism. It's not bitterness. It's a scar that learned to think. Cross your fingers, sure, but keep the exit in sight. Hope for the best, absolutely, but never be shocked when the rug moves. So how do you survive that kind of world as a teenager? You do what Gen X did. You get funny. Not haha funny. Armor funny. You make the joke before the hurt does. You keep things at arm's length. You roll your eyes just slightly at anything that smells like sincerity, because sincerity is where they get you. And where did this come from? Duck. And cover. Remember that? Elementary school teachers in the 1980s calmly explaining to 8-year-olds that if the Soviet Union launched nuclear missiles, you should, and I need you to really hear this, hide under your wooden desk. Adults were simultaneously telling them the world could end at any moment and that everything was totally fine. That's not a mixed message. That's a masterclass in holding 2 contradictory truths at once. So Gen X learned irony, learned distance, learned to laugh at the apocalypse, because what else are you going to do? And yet, and this is where it gets interesting, Gen X works hard, relentlessly hard. You just won't hear them talk about it. No posts, no hustle culture content, no rise and grind captions, just results. Because they started working young, really young. Paper routes at 5 a.m. in the dark, bagging groceries, running fast food registers when the machine broke, and you had to calculate change in your head or the line would eat you alive. These weren't internships. These weren't experiences. These were just jobs. Real adult responsibility dropped on a 12-year-old like it was nothing unusual. And here's the thing they took from it. They don't believe in company loyalty. They watched that movie. They know how it ends. But they are ferociously loyal to their own competence. Because they can't control whether they get laid off. But they can make sure that when the axe falls, they are the last person standing in the room. Here's the contradiction at the heart of Gen X that nobody ever talks about. They are simultaneously the most independent and most quietly collaborative generation alive. Won't ask for help. Will figure it out themselves. Have been doing it since they were 8, remember? But if you need help, they show up. No drama. No post about it. No expectation of credit. Just there. That's not a coincidence. That's what happens when kids form tight survival bonds with their friends because their parents couldn't always be home. You learn that loyalty doesn't announce itself. It just appears when it matters. You want to understand Gen X's relationship with authority? 3 words. Earn it first. Competent boss? They'll run through a wall for you. Incompetent boss with a fancy title? 0 patience. 0 tolerance. 0. Why? Watergate. Iran-Contra. The fumbled AIDS crisis. Government officials on television, lying with confidence, being proven catastrophically wrong, and suffering almost no consequences. Gen X watched authority fail in real time from childhood. They don't hate authority. They just believe you have to deserve it before they'll grant it. The youngest Gen Zers graduated college and walked straight into the dot-com collapse. The oldest were hitting their financial stride when 2008 hit. They've been economically gut-punched multiple times. Not once, multiple times. And what did that teach them? Don't have 1 income stream. Have 3. Not because they're entrepreneurial visionaries. Because nothing lasts, and they learned that early, and they refuse to be caught flat-footed again. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. Gen X might be the last generation that knows what it truly means to be alone with your thoughts. No phone. No algorithm. No dopamine hit every 11 seconds. Just you, a summer afternoon, and the slow, grinding work of being bored until your brain figured out something interesting to do. They spent hours in libraries, physically walking through card catalogs, hunting through drawers for a single book that might have the answer. Information had weight back then. It cost effort. It cost time. Cognitive psychologists call what that builds deeper encoding. When you work hard to learn something, it integrates differently, more permanently. They fixed bikes with their hands. They opened up televisions and figured it out. Not because they were geniuses. Because calling someone wasn't the first option. They were the first option. Generation X looked at their kids and gave them everything they never had. Presence, attention, supervision, safety, and sometimes, quietly, privately, in the way Gen X does everything. They wonder if they overdid it. Made them too visible. Too dependent, too soft. Because in the Gen X worldview, visibility equals vulnerability. They were forged in the space between an old world dying and a new one not yet born. And they've been holding that space ever since. Quietly, without complaint, without credit. They're the bridge generation. And bridges don't get monuments. They just hold. Maybe that's the most Gen X thing of all. Not caring if anyone notices. If this hits something in you, subscribe. And if you want to go deeper on the psychology that shapes entire generations, hit that join button. I'd genuinely appreciate it.